Hello and welcome to the Keep It Local Maine podcast, where we tell the stories of local business owners and Maine residents and learn more about what they do, who and what inspires them, their challenges, successes, and more. My name is Todd Regalinski.
And I am Kimberly Regalinski.
And we are the publishers of Keep It Local Maine, a local magazine that helps showcase local businesses to the people in and around their communities. Thank you for tuning in to our weekly podcast that you can subscribe to on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You can learn more about us at keepitlocalmaine.com and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram through the links in the show notes.
This episode is sponsored by Fabian Oil, a family-owned and operated business that offers heating oil and propane delivery, services, and repairs. Fabian has been serving central and northern Maine with propane and oil for over 30 years. As a local Maine business, they cherish the relationships they have formed by serving the people of their communities. In 2019, Fabian entered the southern Maine region with a heating oil acquisition, and they have recently brought propane to the market. They are aggressive and would love to be your supplier. Give them a call at 207-793-2044 or visit fabianoil.com.
In this episode, we'll be talking with Riley Armstrong, the head coach and assistant general manager of the Maine Mariners. Riley is the first head coach in Mariners franchise history, leading them in their first two ECHL seasons. And in the summer of 2019, he was promoted to assistant general manager as well. He came to the Mariners from the Wheeling Nailers, the ECHL affiliate of the Pittsburgh Penguins, where he was an assistant coach from 2016 to 18. In his 12-year professional playing career, Armstrong spent his first 5 seasons in the San Jose Sharks organization, making his NHL debut during the 2008-2009 season. Armstrong made stops in some of Europe's top professional leagues, playing in Russia, Finland, Germany, and Sweden, as well as additional stints in the AHL and ECHL, playing a total of 610 professional games. He resides in Scarborough with his wife Amber, daughter Peyton, and son Ezra.
Welcome to the show, Coach. We're so glad that you're here with us today.
Thanks for having me, guys. The pleasure's all mine of jumping on with you guys. It's always good. I've been in Pittsburgh for the last little bit, so it's good to talk to some people back in Maine.
This is exciting. So tell us, after a 12-year career as a player and several more as a coach, how has a year without hockey changed your perspective on how excited are you to get back?
It's definitely changed. I guess as a 12, when I played, for the most of it, I was probably with my last 4 years, I was single, and then I got married and had a couple kids, and I wanted to play as long as I could so my kids could watch me play. Unfortunately, your body doesn't hold up like you always plan it does, and leave early at a younger age than I thought. But the perspective this year that has given me is I've really been able now to go with my kids to youth hockey, hockey, soccer. We took them out skiing this past winter. So a lot of things that I'm doing with them that I probably would never have had the opportunity to do if we were playing this year. So, I think a lot of people look at what has happened in a negative light, but I'm a pretty positive and optimistic guy. And that's the way I look at it. I take a positive out of that. And of getting back, I'm fired up to get back. I'm so excited to once October hits here, of ramping things back up again, the guys coming back to town. I'm still in contact with all the players that have been here in the past couple of years, and they're all excited as well. So the days can't go by quick enough right now.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's exciting, and it's so true. It's like, there is a lot of those silver linings coming through COVID, and it is time. Things kind of seem to slow down, and you don't get that time back with your kids, and it does go by really fast. So that's so cool.
You know what? When you have kids, and like everyone always tells you, just enjoy this, and they're like peeing in their diapers, and you're oh, enjoy this. They're going to grow up so fast. And you're like, are you kidding me? Like, how do you enjoy this? But it does happen quick. And, all of a sudden my kids are running around locker rooms and arenas and all this kind of stuff. So I don't know why it is, but everyone's always right when it comes to that stuff of how quick time does fly by.
Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely true. Yeah. It is definitely true. Yeah. So what has been like having your first head coaching job in a town like Portland that has a long hockey history?
It's It's been awesome, actually. I think the fans are so dialed into what is happening in the city and also on the ice. They're very not knowledgeable of the game. Sometimes fans heckle me, and I'm not even playing, guys. Come on, but that comes with the job. But I always remember I used to play for the Worcester Sharks, and we would come up and play against the Pirates, 18 times a season and back and forth. And it was there were really good hockey games, and there was a bunch of scraps and games and stuff like that. And I always remember coming up to Portland, and it was such a quick trip that really got to ever stay the night. But I always remember driving in, and I was like, wow, this city is unbelievable. Like on the water, I'm from Saskatchewan. So, you can watch your dog run away for a week where I'm from. So to be able to be on the water and see all that kind of cool stuff like that, it's definitely been a dream come true for myself to be a head coach, number one, but also to live in such a great city.
Now, you might want to tell those fans when they're heckling you, Portland has a bit of a history of some coaches not exactly reacting well to fans, so they might want to polish up on their history with I think it was Mike Milbury that went after. Actually, no, he went after the organ player, I believe, back in the day, and
that's like a scene off Slapshot, Todd.
Oh yeah, and then I think the coach after him, if I'm getting the name right, Ray Bonus.
Yeah.
I think he had some interactions with fans too, and he was funny because I grew up going to Mariners games with my dad, and you could hear him clearly across the arena on the bench, just everything he was saying. I'm like, that's a dude who doesn't have an inside voice.
Yeah, there's a couple of times when my kids are sitting up in the suite area there, and I'll yell something, and then when I come out, when I come into the locker room after the first or second, I'll have a text from my wife. Hey, Ezra heard what you said. It's not too often that I really do raise my voice. I'm pretty laid back, calm and cool when it comes to it. I'm not playing the game, so I kind of let the players. And I always find that if I get fired up on the bench, then the players are going to get fired up, and it takes away from their game. So it's something that I've really focused on, is kind of staying within my boundaries and my limits and just letting the guys play the game.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, no matter what you're doing, you have to find what your own style is and what works for you. It's not going to be the same thing that works for somebody else.
Absolutely.
Very true.
So what is the season going to look like for fans coming out to the Cross Insurance Arena this year? What is that going to look like?
I think the Sea Dogs are kind of doing a trial right now for probably us and the Red Claws with how the pods are working. I know for them it's outdoors, so it's a little bit different of a scenario being in a stadium. So I think it's going to kind of base off that of how they do handling these scenarios that they're going to have here coming up when they open up on Monday, I believe. And then I think it's going to be with how many people are vaccinated and kind of what the state of Maine guidelines are. We're still going to follow the guidelines that they've had in place. That's something that we've always done. So I think moving forward, it's going to be up to them, and it's going to be up to the people in the state of Maine on getting out there and getting vaccinated, so we can all go back to living some normal life again.
Yeah. So the other question now is, of course, what is the season going to look like for the team, and what are your expectations for the team this coming year?
Yeah, I guess when we decided or announced that we weren't going to be playing during this season, our players all became free agents. But once the season is over, all their playing rights come back to the Maine Mariners. So I've been in a talk with a lot of guys. We have several guys playing in the SPHL, which is the league right below us. We have several players that are playing on other teams in the ECHL, and then we had some guys that went over to Europe. And a bonus was that all the guys played. A lot of them played, and they just didn't sit on the couch for a winter, like myself. So they, I think what I'm envisioning is my theory was about building this core group of guys. And I always felt that minor league sports is a really fan to player relationship. And I think that's where you start to sell tickets, you sell jerseys and the mini sticks and the hats, or in Canada we call them toques, that kind of stuff, is when they start to fall in love with a player. And those are the guys that I'm really focusing on wanting to return, for our, I guess, fourth season. So I'm looking to have that core of guys. And then my expectations for the team have been, the same from when we first came into the league as a team, is to make the playoffs. I always wanted to bring playoff hockey back to Portland, and have people excited for hockey again. And I know a lot of fans, some might still be upset with how the Pirates left a couple of years ago, but it's something that I've tried to focus on is putting the Pirates in the rear view and focusing more on the Maine Mariners and what we're doing around town and around the city. And I'd love to see, more people embrace that, even though we're in the ECHL, but it's still really good hockey. A lot of these players are on NHL contracts or signed by the American Hockey League teams. So it's not like you're just having men's league players come out. So, I think that's something that if playoff hockey could come back, it could drive that a little bit more of attention to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see where that would be a problem for people, the way that the Pirates left. But I think it's at least speaking from my perspective, I was excited when they brought back the Mariners name, because I had a lot of fond memories of that and the names that were associated with that for me and all that. And I think y'all have done a great job kind of tying those two together and having a little bit of separation while still kind of continuing that hockey legacy, I guess you could say.
Yeah, for sure. I love the vintage logo. I think it's pretty cool with the M and the wheel in the middle of it. I think our biggest night was when we did that throwback night of the old Maine Mariners. Like fans were loving it. It was so cool. And like any event from being a kid to an adult or whatever you're playing, it's always cool when you have fans there cheering you on. So our front office did a great job in coming up with that little game plan and idea. I think it hit the community pretty hard there, especially for the older people that used to go to the Mariner games before even the Pirates, all that kind of stuff. So it was pretty cool to see.
Yeah. Awesome. So Kim was just trying to ask me was that the game that we went to, and we went to the one I think you're thinking of, Kim, is it was, and you correct me if I'm wrong on this because my memory is going as I go, but it was the Flyers Bruins alumni game, if I'm remembering. Was that was when they had Shoe Bottom came out and a lot of the old players.
That's the game. I drove in to play that game. Was that the first ever game? And they announced me as the coach in that game.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That was awesome. Yeah.
My hips were burning in warm-ups. I haven't skated like 4 or 5 years. Growing up, I always had one of my buddies. His dad would always tell me, he's like, "Do you know you play a lot? You play a lot like Kenny Linsman." And I'm like, "Who's Kenny Linsman? Like, how old is this guy?" And I step out on the ice and I look over, and it's Kenny Linsman with the.
Oh my God.
I'm like, "No way." The guy that he thinks I play like.
That's hilarious.
I came off the ice after warm-ups. I was texting all my buddies back home. You wouldn't believe who's on the ice. It's Kenny Linsman. Yeah, they're all dying laughing. It was pretty funny.
That's awesome.
That was awesome. Yeah, I mean, and that's obviously not the last game that we went to, but I think that was the one Kim's like, "Ooh, was that the throw?" No, that's not the throwback.
That was a great game because I surprised you with that jersey.
Yep, the Terry Riley jersey. Yes.
Yeah, and we got to meet him. And it was a surprise. He had no idea. I had been orchestrating it behind the scenes. And I'm like, "Hey, let's go check this out." And so we got to meet Terry. Todd got to get his picture taken and his jersey. So that was really awesome.
Did he beat you up while you're getting a picture or what?
No, but I was like, I should have had him turtle me. I should have totally.
I think he did. No, he turtled our daughter.
That's
right. He turtled our daughter. Yes, our daughter was like, gosh, she was young, but yeah, he did.
Yeah,
that's great. That's awesome.
And then even better than that was the fact that after we were talking to him, then Bruce Shoebottom came down the hallway, and I was like, seriously, like, of course, this is terrific, because I just remember all those years ago going to those games, and Shoe is just the guy who would get into fights.
Yeah.
and then I think I was there. I was there the night that he scored his first ever goal, or one of his very rare goals. It was almost by accident. He was as surprised as anybody else. It was great. It's like, oh, that's what they use the stick for. Okay.
Yeah.
Those
they actually collected all of Shoe's pucks for his first goal.
That's awesome.
It's a very small trophy case.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So tell us, so the team has season tickets going on sale soon. When are those going to be available, and kind of what are some of the sorts of packages that are going to be offered?
Yeah, right now we already have season tickets on sale for full seasons and half seasons. And
Nice.
then there are a bunch of flex packs. You can get a 5-game, a 10-game flex pack, which I think is awesome for people who, can't come to every game, but they, as their schedule allows them to, they can pop in and out type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then our schedule should be getting announced here, or released, I guess. And that's when the single seat tickets will then go on sale. So there's definitely going to be a lot of action heating up here out of the Maine Mariners. But if you want to buy season tickets or look into that, you can always go to the marinersofmaine.com
Mm-hmm.
and you can find all the information on there.
That's great.
Awesome. Yeah. So by just about the time this podcast will be live, folks will be able to go online and get the single game seats.
Yes. Yep.
Wow, that was way harder than it should have been. My goodness. You would think that I should have, maybe done one of these in the past or something. So something that I'm kind of curious about for my own sake, what is your most memorable hockey moment? And maybe we ought to break this down as one from as coaching and one from playing.
Yeah.
Or multiple, however many you want.
Yeah.
I'm good for these stories.
Jeez. I've quite a few, but the one that stands out the most from being a player was my first NHL game. I played. I was with the San Jose Sharks, playing in Worcester at the time. I got called up and flew out of Boston Logan to Phoenix, and played my first game against the Phoenix Coyotes, now called the Arizona Coyotes. So a little name change there, a little vintage, but I just feel like that was just a great memory for myself and. For my family. My mom and dad flew down from Saskatoon, and with all the people that were in the stadium, and I remember stepping out for warm-ups, and I swear the only person that was in the crowd was my dad. He stuck out like a sore thumb. I picked him out instantly. And then just have an older brother that played in the NHL for a number of years, and something that I always wanted to do was follow in his footsteps, and just being able to, I only played 2 games, but just being able to, be that 0.1% that of kids that actually get to play was such a cool experience for myself, my family. And, I guess my kids look back now and they don't really understand or kind of get the process of it all, but they're slowly starting to figure it out.
What a great memory. I just had goosebumps.
Now, was that when Gretzky was coaching the Coyotes?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
It was?
Oh, I kept skating by the bench to see if I could touch Wayne.
Yeah, you're not supposed to touch the Stanley Cup before you win it, but you can go ahead and try and touch Wayne.
Oh, he's touched it enough. I think touching just getting by him and seeing him on the bench. And then when I look at the team I played on too, Joe Thornton, Patrick Marleau, Rob Blake, Evgeny Nabokov, there were Jeremy Roenick. There's probably like 5 or 6 Hall of Fame players on that team. And
wow.
Just to be able to be in the same locker room, be on the same plane as those guys, and just kind of watch how they take care of themselves at the rink was like an eye opener for myself on how they prepare and stuff like that too. It's definitely something that's stuck with me. Since being up there.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You got to be careful too, because just like back in his playing days, you get too close to Wayne, and someone's going to cruise over and just like take you.
You got that right.
Don't take out the money guy. Don't hurt Wayne.
That's awesome.
And I do feel from a coaching standpoint, my favorite moment, and I guess a lot of hockey guys have this, but for myself, it was with my son getting a little older and my daughter's 10. She can't come cruising to the locker room anymore. She's getting to that age, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But for my son, just being the head coach here and having him come in the locker room, and he's in the locker room before I even get across the rink to get into the room. He's already on some bubble gum and high-fiving the guys. And I think that's the coolest moment for myself of walking in there and just see him and the players interact with each other. He absolutely loves them. He loves going to the games. He loves being in the locker room. So, you know, I'm not brainwashing him by any means, but
just guiding him. That's all.
Exactly. Guiding. I like that word. I'm going to use that one now.
My dad tried to do that, and I am not a good skater, so it did not work out. I think he would have loved it if I'd become a hockey player, but it just didn't quite work out that way.
Yeah, that's so cool. So we always like to ask this because we like this question, and we're often inspired by the answers. So who or what inspires you?
I think I'm big family guy, and my wife and my kids inspire me. Everyone's parents always do so much for them as a kid. I remember looking back and my mom and my dad driving my brother and my older sister and I to, we did figure skating, soccer, baseball, hockey. And they were always on the go, and they work all the time. They're always in their cars driving, waking up early. You're like, how are they doing this? I always myself, like they didn't even sleep last night. And, that's kind of how what inspires me now is I want that for my kids too. I want them. I want to be able to provide them the best life that they can have. And it does mean working hard, being a hockey coach. It's my job, but I work extremely hard at it to give them the best life. And, I want them to kind of do whatever makes them happy, as I'm guiding him. If he doesn't end up being a hockey player and he ends up being a soccer player or a baseball player, I'll drive him to all of his practices too. So that's definitely something that definitely gives me the fire and that fuel to want to succeed and push myself.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I mean, the baseball thing is tempting because, you were saying you were glad all the players had managed to play and just hadn't been sitting on the couch. Like, you can't have the John Kruk sort of training methods in hockey like you can in baseball. It's a little more intense to stay in hockey shape, I would imagine.
It is. But my son is a 5-year-old. I honestly don't know what he drinks in the morning, if he's like stealing a Red Bull from the 7-Eleven, but this kid just doesn't stop. Like I tried taking the batteries out of him the other day. I couldn't find them, but I was like, how does this thing lay down for a bit?
Yeah. Oh no, I'm familiar with that. Our daughter has plenty of energy as well. Where I'm like, if I could have 10% of that, I'd be unstoppable.
We could just bottle that. We'd all be millionaires.
Well, they did,
right?
And that's what they call Red Bull. These energy drinks. Attempt at that. So actually, you know what? I think should we put him on the spot? Okay. So I'm just curious about this one myself, and this is a sports geek sort of thing, but. You're Mount Rushmore of hockey players, and now of course we're going to take Wayne Gretzky out of the equation. So the next 4.
I'd probably go. I was a huge Detroit Red Wings fan growing up. Steve Yzerman, Sergei Fedorov. I liked the Golden Brett Hall, and always have to give a shout out. I saw my wife crying the other day watching the Russian 5 on TV, and Vladimir Konstantinov, who got hurt and is still in a wheelchair after winning back-to-back cups, winning the first cup with the Red Wings in 96 or 97, and then the Red Wings then going on to win a second cup for them. Pretty cool. I absolutely just love that hockey team. I still do love them, follow them along all the time, but I'd have to go with Konstantinov, Fedorov, Yzerman, and Brett Hall. And by the way, I always wore, whenever I could, number 91 for Fedorov. So I always thought it was pretty cool whenever I was allowed to wear that number.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's so cool.
The numbers I wore in sports never had any great significance. I had low expectations of myself, I guess. I was excited when one year the New England Patriots drafted a guy and he wore the same number that I had playing football, except he was also Mr. Irrelevant. He was the last guy picked in the draft. So I took an odd bit of happiness in that. I'm like, hey, that actually kind of is me playing football.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, everyone loves an underdog story, not necessarily being an underdog story, but loves to hear them.
Yeah, I always ask my kids, like, my son has the hockey jerseys from when I played hanging up in his room and stuff like that, and I'm like, hey, like, what number do you want to be? And I asked my daughter, like, what's your favorite number? She's like 17. I'm like, where the heck did you get 17? Never ever wore 17 or even spoke of 17 in my life. I don't know. It's my lucky number. I was like, what? And
That's awesome.
And I wore number 20 for the longest time in the minors, and I wore number 40 in the NHL with San Jose. But since coming to Pittsburgh here, and my brother wore 20 for most of his NHL career, and now his son, who's 10, wears number 20. So now my son, who always wanted to be number 91 from seeing the jerseys in his room, now wants to be number 20 because his older cousin's number 20. So
nice.
It's good. I think that's just how it kind of goes. It's pretty funny whenever I can get answers out of them like that. It always gives me a good laugh.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny just where, if you're into sports, you start accumulating this like database of numbers in your head, and they just pop out at random moments like, oh, that's Kevin McHale. Oh, that's, Cam Neely. And that's, it's just bizarre. Bizarre creatures are sports fans, but it's a living.
Got that right.
So another question that we usually like to bring this back to, you're not originally from Maine, obviously, but what is your favorite part of living in Maine? Well,
like I touched on, being from Saskatchewan, and we don't have the water. I think it's so cool to be able to take my kids to the beach. I won't swim in there because I'm scared. But it's still cool just to be like, hey, we're at the beach, And then the other part is it's the amount of like breweries they have, Allagash and Bissell Brothers, all those types of places that are very local. They're not, and you go to places, or like I come out to Pennsylvania or go see my family, and I'm like, have you guys ever heard of Bissell Brothers or Allagash? And they're like, what? So I think it's cool that they have so many cool little places like that you can, go get drinks and grab lunch at, and then factor in all the sweet little family-owned restaurants downtown. One of my favorites is Marcy's. It's a little breakfast place right on the corner. Taco Escobar, Luke's Lobster. Oh, I went to Luke's Lobster all the time, and my wife would always see on the bank statement Luke's Lobster, and she'd be like, why do you go and never take me? I was like, you're just never around when I'm like going. So even now Luke starts to give me crap too about never bringing my wife down there. So it's definitely going to have to be a treat for her once everything starts to open back up here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Huh, that sounds like a familiar story, except I'm the one who's getting left behind.
There's nothing to see here. There's absolutely nothing to see here. These are not the droids you're looking for. There is absolutely nothing to see here.
And this is where I get waved away. All right. Well, thank you so much, Coach, for taking some time with us and talking. And we wish you great success this coming year in the season.
Yes.
And we'll make sure that we have links to season tickets, to the websites, to social media, and as well as your spot on Twitter. And make sure that folks can follow you and keep track of how the team does this year.
Yeah. Buy your tickets, people.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on. It's always cool to talk Maine and all the things cool about it. I forgot to mention one thing. I'm actually doing this thing because I haven't got off my couch for 12 months. But I've been just crushing ice cream and talking about the sweetest places to eat for a little dessert when you're driving home. and Beals on Wheels. That's probably like my favorite spot. I always go there and I'm always like, oh, I should really get like the kid or the single size scoop. And then when I get up to the window, I'm like, yeah, I'll take the triple. I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Yeah, but it's so good. I think it's awesome.
That's awesome. You sound like
spots.
a foodie. You
I
sound
am.
like a little bit of a foodie. We need to have a whole nother session here just to talk about food, and now I'm hungry.
I could talk food all the time. I'm trying to not eat so much right now and limit myself so I can. My biggest thing is always trying to fit into my suits. And starts, and I can't go buy all new suits, so it's getting into crunch time now of dialing it back here. So trying to cut the ice cream out for a little bit.
I hear you on the ice cream. That is my kryptonite, man. Love me some ice cream. It's a horrible thing, but it's so good.
So good,
awesome.
Man.
Thank you again. This has been so much fun, and we can't wait to get to the games.
Yes,
we're really excited. So we wish you the best. We wish your family the best, and just hope you have a great season this year.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you again to our sponsor, Fabian Oil. Be sure to contact them for all your propane and heating oil needs using the information in the show notes. And thank you for listening.